Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to today's release webinar, and that is for our 25.1 release. I think we'll have a few people joining over the next couple of minutes, but I'm going to get started anyway. So just to make you aware, at this moment, we would usually have a supporting handout in the chat in case anyone has any technical issues. Unfortunately, it won't let me add that handout to the chat as my colleague who is now on maternity leave created the invite. So just to say, if you do have any technical issues, if you could please just pop it in the Q&A, and then my colleagues will keep an eye on that, and we can pick up and try our best to help you. But if there are issues, I'd say leaving and rejoining usually tends to solve it. So just a bit of that before we get started. And now to introduce myself. So I am Lucy, and I am one of the customer success managers here at Sage People, and I'll be running today's webinar alongside my lovely colleague Coz, who we'll introduce properly later in the session, who's going to run you through Workforce Insights, which is going to be an add-on to Sage People. So watch this space for that one. So just to run you through the agenda for today, I'm just going to give you a quick update on the release schedule, so timings for sandbox versus production upgrades. Then I'm going to run you through the actual feature updates. So I've got a couple of videos to show you on what the changes actually are. Then we've got a section on geo names. Then we'll run over some bug fixes, and then we'll go on to the add-on section, as I mentioned earlier. So just a real quick update. We had the sandbox upgrades for this release at the beginning of May. So anyone who opted in for sandbox upgrades should have now received that and had a chance to test it. We've then got this week, from the 2nd to the 6th of June, the first half of production upgrades will go in. First third, I should say. And that is for the first half of sandbox opt-in customers. So if you opted into sandbox upgrades, you could be getting the production upgrade this week. And then obviously today we've got the release webinar, as we're all here now. And then towards the end of June and beginning of July, the second half of sandbox opt-in customers will have their production org upgraded. And then finally, towards the end of July, beginning of August, the remaining customers will be upgraded. So those of you who aren't opted in for sandbox upgrades. Now, the sandbox release notes, they are already on the Help Center. So when you're in the Help Center, on the left-hand pane, you should find an option for sandbox release notes. There's a few click-throughs to get to the actual release notes, but that's where you need to go. And then I'm awaiting an update for the production release notes. They are due to be out today, but they're not on there quite yet. So watch this space for those. Perfect. So that's the bit of housekeeping sorted. As I mentioned, any technical issues, please do put it in the Q&A, and my colleagues will keep an eye on that. And we'll dive right into the feature updates. So starting with the new features for the WX portal.
And now onto the fun part, the features that really make an impact. These updates aren't just minor tweaks. They're designed to make everyday processes more efficient, intuitive, and user-friendly, offering an enhanced experience for users across various processes. Let's take a closer look at what's coming your way, starting with enhancements made for WX. We'll begin with the internal communications carousel. The carousel has been limited to 10 items, while still providing access to tile pages. If there are more than 10 items, users can select the View All Communications link to see the full list. Additionally, the WX homepage now features a personalized greeting with a team member name displayed to create a more engaging experience. Moving on to our next update, summary processes. You can now filter WX summary process data by policy or policy group. Options include viewing summary process data for all team members, team members in the same policy as yourself, or team members in the same policy group, giving you greater control and flexibility. All lets users see company-wide data, providing a bird's-eye view of everything across all policies and policy groups. In Same Policy offers a focused view by filtering data to only include users in the same policy. For example, someone in UK HR policy would see other UK HR policy team members, but not those assigned to a finance or marketing policy. In Same Policy Group broadens the scope, displaying data across all policies tagged under the same umbrella. For example, selecting the UK policy group displays the summary process to users in the UK HR policy, UK finance and marketing policy, UK colleagues policy, and so on, without stepping outside the UK policy structure. To adjust these settings, navigate to the appropriate WX service. Select the relevant summary process, then select Setup, and toggle the option as needed. This enhanced filtering isn't just about better data visibility, it's about keeping teams connected. These summary processes give users in WX a real-time snapshot of important moments, whether it's welcoming new hires, celebrating birthdays, or recognizing service anniversaries. By allowing the view to be tailored based on company-wide, policy or policy group settings, it ensures the right people see the right updates without unnecessary noise. It's a smarter way to stay engaged with colleagues and foster a stronger workplace culture. Next, let's look at some updates to the reward planning module. Firstly, percent signs have been added in the compensation planning table to the requested salary. And requested bonus fields, making information clearer at a glance. We've also updated the UI by displaying full column headings in the same table rather than truncated headers, ensuring better clarity when working with data. Moving next to performance reviews. You can now print performance reviews directly through the Create PDF option, which is available for both managers and team members. Simply navigate to a performance review and select Create PDF. Lastly, an empty state message has been added to the performance overview page, so it's clear when no active reviews are present.
Perfect. I'm just going to quickly check the chat to see if anything has come in. No, I can't see anything. So just quickly on that. So the WX enhancements, I think they'll make a real difference. Just a couple of things to point out on that one. So the welcome message where we showed it said, "Hi, Steve," that was a bit more personalized. That is a custom label. So you can amend that if you like to say something like, "Welcome, Steve, to Sage People," or whatever you call your WX. So there is flexibility with that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was the summary processes. So just to make you aware, some of you will already know, but those summary processes can be used for whatever you like. They don't have to be the ones that we do out of the box. So starters, leavers, and work anniversaries. I quite like the idea of using them for things like mental health first aiders, fire marshals, first aiders, all that kind of thing. And I think that's going to be even more useful now that you've got those settings to refine them by policy and not showing them for the whole organisation. So hopefully that's useful. Any other questions on that, feel free to put them in the Q&A. And with that, I'll move on to the next section, which is the new features for the HR portal.
We're going to spend some time now looking at enhancements made for HR managers and sysadmins in the HR portal, starting with a batch job to recalculate the reporting amounts of salary and benefit records when the exchange rate is changed. With this update, batch processing functionality has been updated, and can be used to adjust both active and future salary and benefit records based on currency exchange rate changes. This keeps everything accurate and up to date, reducing the need for manual corrections and ensuring seamless financial adjustments across the board. Plus, you'll get notifications for these batches, keeping you informed every step of the way. Here's Steve Pendleton's current salary record. The annual amount is listed as €50,000, displayed as 45,000 in the annual reporting field because reporting currency is set to GBP. Now, let's update the exchange rate for euros. Start by navigating to the Exchange Rate tab. Edit the rate as needed and save. Check the box next to the currency name, then select Update. Now simply follow the steps in the wizard. The system will automatically recalculate salary and benefit records using the new exchange rate and update the values in the reporting currency fields. This makes the process much smoother and removes the need to manually check the trigger currency calculation box on each individual record. If we look again at Steve's salary record, we can see the reporting amounts have been adjusted in line with the new exchange rate. By the way, if the Update button isn't available, you'll need to adjust the List View button layout on the exchange rate object to enable it. Delegating tasks just got a whole lot smarter. You can now set delegation start and end dates directly within the HR portal, ensuring seamless transitions when handing over responsibilities. To set up delegation, navigate to the Roles tab, select the appropriate role name or create one if none exist, and either edit an existing delegation or add a new one. The start date is mandatory, ensuring all delegations have a clear activation point, while the end date is optional, allowing flexibility based on the situation. Built-in validations prevent users from selecting past dates, so everything stays accurate and properly scheduled. When updating an org, a post-install script automatically sets the start date on any existing records to today's date, meaning the date the package is installed. This helps maintain consistency, especially since it's not easy to determine when a delegation originally began. Of course, this date can always be manually adjusted as needed. Delegated access is a simple yet powerful way to maintain clarity and control over delegated tasks. While some updates in this release are big and flashy, others work quietly in the background to make things run better, faster, and smoother. These behind-the-scenes improvements help keep everything reliable and easy to use. Data Loader now includes confirmation dialogues when importing data, helping users double-check whether they're inserting, updating, or upserting records. This helps in reducing errors and improving accuracy. Payslips processing has moved to Angular, which makes things quicker and more efficient. We've also added a year filter so you can find older payslips without endlessly scrolling. Plus, dates now follow a clearer format, like Feb 2, 2024, to match local standards. Time-off records have been fine-tuned with better validation and permissions for handling records updated via APIs, in turn, making sure everything works correctly and securely when handling absence requests. Manager Notes has also been moved to Angular, meaning faster performance, and we've introduced a fresher, more streamlined look, bringing it into line with the rest of WX. These changes might not be the most exciting on the surface, but they reduce errors, improve speed, and help make everyday tasks easier.
Perfect. All right, I'm just going to check the Q&A to see if we've had anything else come in. And it looks like we've had a couple of questions. So Arshad has said, for the welcome message, do we have the option to choose between legal first name or preferred name from the team member record? So that is a very good question. I might have to take that one away. I would assume it's defaulted to the preferred name, but I'll have to double check and revert back to you, Arshad, if that's okay. And then we've had a question from George, who said, will existing delegates have a blank end date by default when this feature goes live? And yes, that is correct. They will have a blank end date by default, but if you need to go in and populate any for any of your delegated roles, then you'll be able to go and do that once you've had the update. Perfect. Brilliant. Keep the questions coming, guys, as we go through. I'll check them at the end of each section and try my best to answer them. And those I can't answer, I will take away and come back to you, and we'll publish it with the webinar recording as well. So just a couple of things to note on the HR portal changes. The exchange rates piece, I know we do have some customers that have flows to automatically trigger that currency recalculation already. So with that situation, it will, I guess, be a decision whether you continue to use your flows or whether you want to use the new tool within the system, the delegated access. So yeah, that should help with your absence approvals. So a lot of customers use the delegated access if they've got a manager that's out of the business for a couple of weeks and they need someone to approve their team members' leave on their behalf. But at the moment, you're having to manually go in and remember to take that away once the manager's returned from annual leave. So those end dates should really help with those scenarios. We are looking at, I know we've had some questions in the past about enabling the managers to set those role delegations themselves. And that's something that we're probably going to look at in the future when we review the time off feature in the WX as a whole. But this should help set the scene in the back end to do that for managers in the future as well. So hopefully that's helpful. Brilliant. With that, I shall move on. Over to GeoNames now.
All right then. Let's talk about the GeoNames remote site settings update, a small but essential tweak to keep things secure and running smoothly. GeoNames is a global geographical database that provides location-based data, including cities, regions, and country names. In Sage People, it plays a crucial role in standardizing location information, ensuring consistency when matching candidates to vacancies. But that's only half the story. This data works hand in hand with geocodes, latitude and longitude, which allow us to map locations accurately and enable proximity-based searches. These geocodes are automatically assigned through triggers on the respective objects, ensuring candidates are correctly placed based on their addresses. For any missing geocodes, there's a batch process available right from the Recruit configuration page to fill in the gaps. Now about the update. As part of a recent security review, GeoNames now requires us to use their paid HTTPS service. Why does this matter? Well, Salesforce doesn't allow automatic changes to remote site settings, so we'll need to update this manually. Here's the simple post-install task. Head into Salesforce Setup, look for Remote Site Settings, find the GeoNames setting and edit it. Change the URL to https://ws.geonames.net and ensure that active box is checked. And that's it. A quick, straightforward change, but one that's key to ensuring everything keeps running seamlessly. Why is this change important? Beyond just ticking a box, this ensures compliance with GeoNames' updated requirements and keeps the Sage People geocoding functionality working without interruption. It's a small adjustment with a big impact. Without it, location-based matching could break down, affecting candidate placements and vacancy searches.
Perfect. So I've just seen in the chat we've had a question to ask if the GeoNames updates could be done by support for all the clients. Yes, I can confirm that support will be making the updates to the geocode settings. I think that's the only extra question we've had. So hopefully that all makes sense so far. That's kind of the feature updates for the WX and the HR portal. And then we've also got some bug fixes as well. So I won't go through all of these in detail, but just to talk you through some of these, you can see we've got, I think it's about 6 bug fixes for the recruit side of the system, and then a few more for the HCM side of the system. So the first one for recruit, I think, is a huge one, and I'm really glad this is fixed. So previously, if you were scheduling interviews and it was an on-site interview, the meeting invite would still retain the Teams link, even though the meeting was on site and didn't require a Teams link. So that has been fixed, and the Teams link should no longer show on the meeting invite for on-site interviews. So that's a huge win. We've also got the candidate portal. So there's been some errors with social media buttons when embedded in an iframe. So that is now fixed. So that's another win. Just go over a couple more of the recruit ones. So agencies as well. So before, mandatory assessment questions were not enforced on the agency portal, and now this is resolved so that if you mark them as mandatory, they will need to be completed. As I mentioned, I'm not going to run through them all, so I'll leave that up for you to read. It's also on the release notes, but just to go over a couple of the HCM fixes then. We've now got, for feedback, the final response date field is now mandatory for feedback requests. So that's a really good one. And then I'd say the other one to point out is the performance reviews. So now it's automatically calculated the next review cycle. That information is removed from the performance overview page. And then just the last one I'm going to point out is the WX as well. We fixed an issue where when you navigated to another team member's record, it displayed their WX service page instead of the WX process page, so the detail, and that is now fixed also. So just a few bug fix highlights for you there. Just before I move on to the next section, that is it as far as the 25.1 release is concerned. We've done a lot of focus on voice of the customer items, so some of those have been really key. So the internal communications, being able to display more than just the carousel, the print to PDF for the performance reviews, that's one that's been highly voted as well, and also the compensation planning as well, so that those columns expanded so that you could read the whole column title rather than it being truncated. So all really positive. And then the next part we're going to cover are features that you can have as part of Sage People, but there is an additional cost because they are add-ons and not existing modules. So the first one, workforce intelligence, that Cos is going to run through for you, is we need an extra license from Salesforce for that. So that's why it's got an extra fee associated with it. And then the second one we'll cover is uptime, and that is we're partnering with a third party to bring that to you as well. So with that, I will hand over to you, Cos.
Thanks, Lucy. And team, I'm just going to start sharing my screen. Hopefully that's come through enough. So I'm really excited to be talking to you about Sage People Workforce Intelligence here today. I will start off in a PowerPoint presentation. So there's one slide I want to cover off just to set the scene before we move into a live demonstration, and then we'll come back into the presentation to wrap up. Okay. So first and foremost, why did we go down the route of Sage People Workforce Intelligence, why is it that we decided to bring this offering to the market? So as you know, with Sage People, we are a very configurable solution, and most of the businesses that we work with, they're complex, mid-sized complex organizations, in a lot of cases, multinational entities. And customers across the board are collecting a lot of information for their employees. So there's a lot of different data points, be it because of legislation, be it because of customer culture. They're collecting a lot of data in Sage People, but then there's always been this kind of hurdle as to how do they analyze all of that data that they've collected. We know that Sage People is really powerful when it comes to reporting, and you can review a lot of information in the system. But then the ability to interpret that data, that was what was missing, and the ability to understand what is the story that that data is telling me, that was kind of missing. So that was a pain point that was identified by most of our customers. And obviously, that leads to the second pain point over here, which is if you don't understand what the story that your existing data is telling you, you cannot anticipate what's going to happen next. You cannot predict what trends are you need to be looking at, right? Another pain point that we are aware of is our customers have, apart from Sage People as an HR system, there might be a variety of other business systems where they hold employee data, performance data, like CRM systems, sales achievements, things like that. So there are multiple disparate solutions that our customers are using, which obviously does not give them a single stop shop view when it comes to analytics. And all of these leads to, I guess, the next couple of points, which is where if you've not understood your data, if you cannot predict trends, you would struggle with identifying what your business strategy is from an HR perspective. What is it that you want to take to the C level as the strategic drivers or the key performance indicators that you're going to focus on from an HR perspective? And the last point over here, this is also quite important, especially for customers based in Europe with the CSRD reporting that's coming out, reporting requirements that are coming out. It's no longer just good enough to be able to call out where your business is as of right now with things like gender disparity, pay disparity. It's also about you being forward looking as to what are the mitigating actions or priorities that you're going to focus on to reduce those disparities within your business, right? So these were kind of the key challenges or pain points that our customers put forward to us. And we've taken that away and we've come back with Sage People Workforce Intelligence as an offering because we very strongly feel that it's a really powerful offering and it's going to really help you drive some of these really powerful initiatives across your business. So without further ado, let's go into a demonstration of the system. So you will obviously recognize Sage People's Workforce Experience portal over here. So I've logged into the system as Steve. Steve in my demo environment is an employee as well as a manager and an HR administrator. So from the single view, I'll be able to talk you through some of the key areas of functionality when it comes to workforce intelligence. First and foremost, I'm going to cover off the manager pieces that you get with Sage People Workforce Intelligence. So what you now have is 5 dashboards that you can give that, by the way, they are controlled using policies or permission sets. So you have the ability to tailor which managers within your business get access to which dashboards. Just to quickly call out the first 3 dashboards that you see over here, headcount, time off, and performance. These dashboards are designed so they look down the manager's hierarchy. So a manager can look at everyone within their hierarchy when they are using these dashboards. However, the C-suite and the C-suite dashboards over here, headcount and diversity, these are mainly for your senior stakeholders within the business because they give them full visibility of the organization. It does not look at hierarchy at all. It's a full view of the organization. So these are part of the Sage People Workforce Intelligence package. And the idea here is as a manager, I would come in here, I can view data for everyone in my hierarchy, and then I can filter those data points as I see fit with these pre-built filters. The key thing to call out is these dashboards are out of the box. So as of now, they are not configurable dashboards. So what you can do is define whether a manager has access to, for example, the time off dashboard controlled via policies, let's say. But if you enable that access, they get all of the widgets that you see over here, right? So including the ability to monitor absence days by sickness, absence days versus sickness, people on leave, right? But all of the metrics that you see in these dashboards, these are designed to reflect the most commonly asked questions by manager or most commonly requested metrics. So these are designed as out-of-the-box dashboards, which all of you can leverage and give managers access to real-time visibility of those data points in their hierarchy. The C-suite dashboards, again, like I said, it's a full company view. So as a senior stakeholder within the business who needs that kind of visibility, I can come in here and again, from a headcount perspective, I can look at my global headcount in this example, average tenure, tenure by employment type, as well as future levers, future starters. All of those data points are there, which your senior stakeholders can look at for the whole business. And the last one, obviously, is a diversity one. So the diversity dashboard, again, as a senior stakeholder, I can view this data for across the business, male versus, employees by gender, employees by age group, as well as new hires and leavers by age and gender, along with the pay gap by gender report, right? Again, just to reiterate, these are out-of-the-box dashboards, so these are fixed, all of the widgets in them, but you can control which managers or which stakeholders have access to these dashboards. Okay, so that is from a self-service perspective what you get with Sage People's Workforce Intelligence offering. However, the true power of the tool is in the admin interface, right? Because this is where we are leveraging some of Salesforce's really powerful analytics capabilities. So these are AI ML powered analytics engine that we are bringing into play. But what this allows you to do is within Sage People, as you know, you can create a range of reports, right? You can pretty much build reports on any data points that you've collected within the system. I'm using a relatively straightforward report here as an example. So I've called it the performance and lever data report. It's very straightforward. I've got the employee name, gender, job title, manager, function, which country do they work in, the performance rating, and the fact whether they are a lever or not. Right. So fairly straightforward report. And as you can, as I'm sure you all know, you can create your own reports, you can create your own dashboards, you can customize standard reports in the system. So the idea here is it is going to be looking at your data set, and that's the win for our customers because you are focusing these really powerful analytics abilities on the data set that is important to you, right? By controlling what data you pull into this report. So let's look at this analyze option over here. So like I said, this is an AI machine learning powered analytics engine. It does a comprehensive statistical analysis of all of the data that you pull into this particular report or any particular report for that matter. And what I'm going to do over here, as you can see, I've got is lever is a checkbox. So it's a field with a binary outcome. So over here, I have a couple of options where I can analyze data where is lever is true. So where I have employees who have left the business. Or is lever is false where employees are active within the business, right? So let's select the true option over here. So I'm telling the system that I want to analyze all of the rows where employees have left with a goal to minimize. So now what the system is going to do is Salesforce's Einstein Discovery for Report is in crunching these numbers in real time to look at all of my levers and the statistical correlations with each and every one of these fields in this particular report. Right. So in a matter of seconds, it is doing what usually it takes a team of data analysts a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to put together, right? So in a matter of seconds, we now have some insights over here. And these are very easy to read. So as you can see in my demo environment, it says country of work, Sweden, did worse than average, right? So immediately it's telling me that for whatever reason in Sweden, we are seeing more levers. So when you click into that insight, it then gives you a bit more detail over here. So I can clearly see my global average is 28.28% of levers. So that's across my business, across our organization based on the report that I've defined. And then in blue, I have my outliers. So again, immediately it brings to your notice that, as you can see, Sweden is an outlier because the lever percentage in Sweden is 46.67% as opposed to my 28% average across the business. And on the other hand, in the US, I have only 8.33% levers. So what this is telling me as an HR practitioner is in the US, we are doing better at retaining employees within the business, right? So there is something maybe I can learn from what's happening in that part of the world. And maybe those learnings can be transferred to Sweden in this example so that we can share best practices across the business. But the key thing here is in a matter of seconds, you've identified your outliers. And as an HR team, this is what we call like actionable insights. So as an HR team, you have your next steps as to, okay, let's investigate this further. Let's understand what's happening in Sweden. And like I said, is there something we can share from the US, which will help us bring the average down across the business just by targeting what's happening in either Sweden or the US. Okay. And there's few more examples over here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are a couple that I really like to call out. So this one over here, where it says performance rating exceeds expectation, did worse than average, right? This is the last thing you want to see as an HR practitioner. What this is telling you is that your high performers, for whatever reason, are also more likely to leave the business, right? So as you can see, it's 40.5% as compared to my global average. So again, immediately in a matter of seconds, you now have these insights for across the world. And the last insight that I'm going to call out again, very interesting, where this one over here, which says when performance rating exceeds expectation, gender female did the worst. So again, a concerning insight, right, in my demo data, where at a glance I can now see female high performers are even more likely to leave the business than their male counterparts, right? So in a matter of seconds, you can glean these insights. When you're capturing these insights, you also now have the ability to set up trend monitoring. So this then allows you to take a snapshot of this data on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, and which over a period of time will help you create a trends dashboard on this data set that you've created within the system. And the last piece I want, in fact, there are a couple of things. But one that's related to this report is the idea here is when you've analyzed the data that you have in the system, and if you are satisfied, I'm not going to use the word happy, but if you're satisfied with the insights that you're getting through analyzing this data, it's giving you your past trends information as to what's happened in the past. And it says, okay, Sweden does worse, high performers tend to leave. So if you're satisfied that, yes, these indicators are true, are correct to an extent, what Sage People Workforce Intelligence also allows you to do is build out predictive models within the system. So if I go into my Analytics Studio over here, what you can now do is using that same reporting data set that you are satisfied with, you know that's showing you the correct insights, you can actually build a predictive model around your levers information, right? So almost like an attrition model. And this takes into consideration all of those insights that we've already looked at. So when you pull in that data to create a model, it again reiterates what it is seeing in that data. And if you're happy with that, you can deploy this model, which brings those same insights now to your existing employees. So now when I come in here and I'm looking at my existing team member records, I can now see how my past trends or the past data analysis that we've undertaken, such as where employees are exceeds expectation or high performers, their risk of leaving goes up. I can now bring that data against my active team members so I can start focusing on what retention efforts or what mitigating actions can I put in place so that we can lower that risk of attrition for these employees. Okay? So these are kind of some of the key pieces of functionality. What I love about this tool is this analyze button and the trend button that you see is almost out of the box. So it's as soon as you have the license, you apply the permission set. This is then available across all of your existing reports. So that's really important. I just want to reinforce that point a bit more because when we look at AI applications, we feel this is a quick and big win for our HR teams because you're now focusing all of that powerful AI ML capability on your data sets, right? On reports that you've been using in the past, right? So this immediately enables you to start leveraging these insights on your existing reports, on your existing KPI metrics as well. Okay. And one last point that I wanted to make. So we talked about siloed data. So what you get with Sage People Workforce Intelligence is also the ability to bring in external data into the system if required. So it comes with these out-of-the-box connectors. So as you can see, there's a lot of options, including the Salesforce external connector. So if you are in a business where you are using a CRM, Salesforce, you are using the Salesforce platform as a CRM as well, and you wanted to pull in those numbers which reflect employees' productivity, such as how many deals they've closed, all of those kind of things. You can use these out-of-the-box external connectors to pull in that data and then analyze that data within Sage People, leveraging Sage People's Workforce Intelligence offering. So yeah, those were the kind of key areas that I wanted to call out from a Sage People Workforce Intelligence perspective. If I bring up my deck again, just to reiterate some of the points that I've already made, it is flexible reporting. Basically, again, you get a lot of options to kind of bring in external data, create your reports, create your dashboards using CRMA, and yeah, really kind of make use of all of that data that's lying around your business ecosystem. The AI powered insights, they are plug and play. So again, it is a really quick win. As like I mentioned earlier, just get the license, apply the permission set, and those users can start leveraging those analytics and trends capabilities across your existing reports. We've talked about the self-service dashboards for your managers, so out-of-the-box dashboards, but covers headcount, tenure, performance, time off, and diversity. So again, giving your managers that visibility across their hierarchy within the system. Um, Leveraging the prediction builder within the system. So again, understanding your data and then using that to monitor current employees and see what the risks are within the business. And then most importantly, the functionality that we are bringing to the table, it sits within your Salesforce ecosystem, right? So it's a tried and tested platform. It is a platform that you already trust, and that is where all of this powerful AI ML functionality is hosted, and it's coming from as well. Okay. So team, that was a quick overview of Sage People's workforce intelligence offering. Hope you found that useful. But yes, I guess I'll hand you back over to Lucy.
Thanks, Cos. That was really, really helpful. And I think it should make a huge difference to our customers' lives being able to use those AI analytics. So no, looking forward to seeing customers starting to use that and seeing how much of a difference it makes. So I think we've had a couple of questions as well. Apologies, I think I missed some from earlier. I think my Teams is a bit slow at refreshing the Q&A. So I think there were one or two for you, Cos, as well. So let me get to those first, just to help the flow. So we've had a question to say, can this possibly replace the snapshot reporting object that we use currently for historical reporting? Can we report on it with historical data and do comparisons? Sorry.
So I wouldn't replace snapshot reporting because that has its own kind of functionality that it brings to bear. So your snapshot reporting will stay in place as it is. But yes, going forwards, if you had defined a report where you wanted to monitor trends, so that you can come back and look at those trends historically, absolutely. But just to be clear, again, there will be restrictions on how many trends dashboards you can set up, right? Similar to how you have snapshot reporting restrictions or subscription restrictions, there will be the same with the trends piece as well.
Perfect, thank you. So the next one is, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, Cos, but would we be able to get this AI Insights add-on functionality in our sandbox environment first to see if it's what we want to pay for?
Unfortunately, no, it cannot, because it is a license requirement. It first has to go into a production before it gets copied over to your sandbox.
Great, thank you.
But obviously, we have different offerings, right? So you don't have to purchase the licenses for all of your HR users. You could start with just a couple of users within your business. And then once you've tried it, tested it, found some use cases that work for the wider business, that's when you might want to roll it out to other HR users.
Perfect, thank you. And we do have it on our trialogues as well, as Koj just showed. So if kind of you do want to go over a bit more with your CSM or anything, we can always bring up our trialogues and show you if you want to see something in particular as well. So just reach out to your CSM if you want further information on it. I've had a few questions on costs as well. So the costs varies, but it's starting from £5,000 for 2 users in the back end. So that's the starting point for it. So if you need any further information on that, again, if you could please reach out to your CSM, that would be great. Apologies, I'm just looking through to see if we've had any more on Workforce Insights. I know I've had one about comparing the cost to Power BI, but I don't think we can confirm that because I'm not too sure on the cost for Power BI. Let me just check the Q&A. Sorry, Cos, see if there's anything else on workforce intelligence.
I think there is a question from Arshad over here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to go through it. Arshad, give me just 1 second. External real-time data. So the workforce insights on WX, you will be able to schedule the refreshes of those dashboards to run every hour, or so it's not real time, but you can define how often that data is refreshed. So managers are seeing that data on that frequency that you define. Can we add additional filters to the dashboard? So no, as of now, those dashboards are out of the box. So the filters are also kind of hard-coded. So yes, as of now, it's what you see is what you get. But the aim absolutely is going forwards in terms of developing those dashboards is to give you more configurability with those. So including the ability to map those filter fields to reflect your specific requirements, Arshad. But as of now, those filters are fixed. And then your final question is on the encrypted DEI fields, if we have classic encryption, I would have to take that away. And again, we'd also have to understand which users are we enabling the workforce intelligence offering for and what their permissions are to view those data points. But we can discuss that kind of in a separate conversation offline if required.
Amazing, thank you. And it looks like we've also had one from Joanna to ask if they can get a demo of workforce intelligence and if it would help build gender pay gap reports. So
yeah, so Joanna, absolutely, we can organize a demo if you contact your CSM. I'm sure we can jump on a half an hour, 45-minute call. But gender pay gap reports again, relatively straightforward. So absolutely can discuss that offline.
Perfect. We do also have a top tip on the help center as well about building some gender pay gap reports. We always say for those, it's probably best to use your payroll platform and data to build those out. But if you just want kind of an idea in Sage People, then those reports can help as well. So there's that one. And then I know I had another question on the pricing and it's asking if that was £5,000 for every 2 administrator users or standard users. It'll be for administrators, right, Cos?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Brilliant.
So again, just in terms of positioning, sorry, Lucy, very quickly.
Yeah.
Ideally, what we say is Sage People Workforce Intelligence. It's a very powerful data analytics tool, right? So what we would recommend is within your HR team, if you have people who have a data hat on, who worked with data in the past, or it's a passion of theirs, you'd start off with them having access to it because especially when it comes to things like predictive models and all of that, you need a very solid founding. And obviously, we offer trailheads through Salesforce that you can undertake. But yeah, so it would be for your HR users, admin users, and ideally people who have that data analyst inclination or leaning.
Perfect. Thank you. Amazing. Brilliant. So I know there's a few other questions on the previous topic. So just to revert back to that, I know Lewis has also asked about exchange rates and whether that will be extended to resource planner and resource needs. At the moment, there aren't plans to, but definitely get that logged on the ideas portal if that's something you'd like to see. And then I don't know if I've missed any, but I'm going to move on just to cover uptime really quickly. And then if we've got time at the end, I can revert back, see if I've missed any questions. And if not, we'll publish the answers to any missed afterwards. So let me just reshare my screen. So the other add-on we have is uptime. So this, we've had a previous webinar on this when we were exploring it as a potential offering. It's not an LMS, but it is a learning platform. It's not a full LMS yet, but it has got lots and lots of content on there, learning, well-being, audio books, all sorts of things. So we have got a detailed webinar on this on the 17th of June. And I definitely say, if it sounds like it's something that could interest you, then dial in for the full webinar. But in the meantime, I've got a really short teaser video to play for you. So I'm just going to do that. It doesn't have any sound, but I'll talk through the talking points for you. So let's play that. So HR teams invest heavily in learning and development, but often struggle to demonstrate a return on training investment. Hindered by low completion rates and employee engagement. Enter uptime, lifelong learning and well-being for Sage people. The all-in-one micro-learning solution that turns any content into 5-minute hacks, putting your employees' growth first. Access over 20,000 pieces of content curated from the world's top creators, covering everything from mental health and financial wellness to career progression and leadership. Leverage the power of AI to transform traditional company training and onboarding into engaging, high-quality content available in 24 languages in just minutes. And as you can see, it's got a lot of users already outside of the Sage People platform. It's a learning platform that covers all sorts of things, as it mentioned. So well-being, mental health, financial well-being, etc. And then also there can be specific content related to your organization. So you could have your own, what they call hacks for your company, where you create short 5-minute videos on some of your content and learning materials. And then also there will be some Sage content on there as well. So Sage people specific content. So watch this space for that webinar that's taking place on the 17th of June for further information and details on pricing, etc. And then I just wanted to make you aware of our upcoming events. So I've mentioned the Uptime webinar on the 17th of June. It is the registration link should be on the community for that one already. But if you haven't got it, please contact your CSM if you can't find it, and they'll be able to share it with you. And then we've also got the CIPD Festival of Work, which is taking place next week, I think it is now. So 11th and 12th of June, and our Sage People team are going to be there both days. So if you are going, please do go and say hello. For those of you that are in the UK, we're going to have from our team, Michelle, Kay, Alex and Ruby, all CSMs there. So no, please do go and say hello. That'd be great. Perfect. So that is it from me. I'm just going to have a quick scan of the questions to see if I've missed anything. So if you just bear with me one moment. Halima, you put a question saying, I noticed on your screen there is an org chart tab. Would it be possible to show us for a minute? Can this be exported into PowerPoint? Are you able to quickly confirm, Halima, if that was on Coz's screen or my screen? If you could just pop that in the comment of your question, that'd be amazing. But yes, I can pull up the org chart tab if I think it's what you're referring to. And I'd assume it was on the WX. So I'll pull that up anyway and show you what I think it is. We had one question about the roadmap delegation. Is it on the roadmap that delegation could be requested from the WX? I think I've covered that one. Yes, it is on the roadmap to look at when we address time off as a whole. So just to show you quickly in my trial org, we do have an org chart tab down the bottom here, if that is what you were referring to, Halima. So I'll just show you that. It's been there for quite a while. It's not any new functionality for now, but just a click through org chart where you can see yourself, your manager, your colleagues, and any direct reports and cross reports as well. So hopefully that covers that. And then I think there's just one more question about what is Angular that we mentioned when we were talking about manager notes and payslips. It's just where that information is hosted. So it's just going to make the loading screen quicker. It's not going to be anything of notice to your end users other than the loading speed, really. So hopefully that answers that one. I think that is it. So thank you everyone for joining and for your time today. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of the 25.1 release, as well as the add-on options we've got coming now. So if you're interested in uptime or workforce intelligence, please do reach out to your CSM. But obviously uptime, we've got that webinar on the 17th. So join then if you want to hear more. And I'll let you go. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.